It is a very specific kind of exhaustion. You wake up, look at your phone, and before you even swing your legs out of bed, you are already calculating how much of your day belongs to other people. You are the easygoing one, the one who says yes, the one who does not mind staying a little later, changing your plans, or carrying the weight someone else carelessly dropped. You tell yourself that being accommodating makes you a good person. You tell yourself that keeping the peace is a virtue. But lately, the peace does not feel peaceful. It just feels heavy. You are running on empty, keeping everyone else's plate spinning, while silently wondering why no one ever notices that your hands are shaking. We call it being nice. We call it being a reliable friend, a team player, a supportive partner. But underneath the surface, it is a psychological cage, and it is known as the nice guy trap. Or more accurately, the chronic people-pleasing cycle. It is the quiet, desperate hope that if you are useful enough, easy enough, and accommodating enough, you will finally earn the right to be loved without conditions. You make yourself small so others can be comfortable. You swallow your preferences so you do not cause friction. And you do it so automatically that half the time, you do not even realize you are entirely erasing yourself from the equation of your own life. The nice guy trap is not actually about being nice. It is about control. It is a defense mechanism. It is the belief that if you manage everyone else's emotions perfectly, you can protect yourself from rejection and abandonment. But the protection is an illusion. I remember a time when this trap almost broke me. A friend called on a Friday afternoon, panicked because they had to move out by the weekend. Without hesitating, I said yes. I showed up at 6 and found a disaster. I stayed until 3 in the morning, taping boxes and hauling heavy furniture down narrow stairs, entirely depleting my energy from a brutal work week. I drove home in a daze, feeling a strange mix of physical exhaustion and a desperate pride that I had been the good guy. I slept through most of Saturday. When I finally woke up, I opened my phone. The first thing I saw was an Instagram story from that same friend. They were out at a sunny rooftop brunch with other people, holding mimosas. The caption said, "Moving is the worst. Time to celebrate surviving." I sat there in my dark bedroom staring at the screen. I did not feel like a good friend in that moment. I felt like an appliance. I felt like something you plug in when you need it and unplug when you are done. The resentment was sharp and hot, burning in my chest. I wanted to send a passive-aggressive text. I wanted them to realize what they had done. But sitting there in the quiet, an uncomfortable truth washed over me. They did not do this to me. I did it to myself. I handed them my time, my energy, and my weekend on a silver platter, and then got quietly furious that they actually took it. This is the core tragedy of the over-accommodator. You expect people to read your mind, see your sacrifice, and stop you from overextending yourself. You give and give, secretly hoping someone will eventually say, "You have done enough. Rest." But people rarely do. They simply accept what you offer. When you constantly say yes, you are not teaching people that you are generous. You are teaching them that your time has no value. You are training them to ignore your boundaries because you do not enforce them yourself. The fear underneath this is terrifyingly simple. If you say no, they will leave. You have linked your basic human worth entirely to your utility. If you are not actively helping, you feel like you are taking up space illegally. It reminds me of a psychological phenomenon called the bystander effect. You might have heard of it. It is the idea that when an emergency happens in a crowded place, people are less likely to help because everyone assumes someone else will do it. Everyone stands around, paralyzed, waiting for another person to take the lead. A few weeks after that moving day, I saw this happen in real life. I was walking downtown when 2 bicycles collided hard on the sidewalk. One of the riders fell awkwardly and hit his head. There were at least 20 people around. Everyone stopped. Everyone stared, but nobody moved. We all just stood there in this strange, frozen silence, watching the man grimace on the ground. I felt the panic of inaction. Then I remembered a psychological technique about breaking the bystander freeze. You do not just yell vaguely for help. You have to remove the ambiguity. You have to designate a specific person. I looked at a man standing near the curb, pointed directly at him, and said loudly, "You in the blue shirt, pull out your phone and call an ambulance right now." The spell broke instantly. The man in the blue shirt jolted out of his trance, grabbed his phone, and dialed. Other people suddenly stepped forward to help block the bike lane. The paralysis ended because someone made a direct, unambiguous command instead of waiting for the crowd to act. As I walked away from that scene, the realization hit me hard. People-pleasing is the bystander effect applied to your own life. You are standing on the sidewalk, watching your own boundaries get crushed, watching your energy bleed out, waiting for someone else to step in and save you. You wait for your boss to notice you are overworked. You wait for your friend to see that hauling boxes at 3 in the morning is unfair, but they are all just standing there. The crowd is not going to save you. You have to be the one to point the finger. You have to break the silence. If you do not advocate for your own limits, nobody else will. You see this in small, everyday moments too. It is the moment in a late Friday afternoon meeting when a manager asks who can take on an extra report over the weekend. The room goes quiet. You feel that agonizing pull in your chest. The silence feels intolerable to you. You cannot stand the discomfort of letting someone else be disappointed. So your hand slowly goes up. You volunteer. You sacrifice your Saturday morning, not because you want to, not because you have to, but because you could not tolerate 10 seconds of awkward silence. You bought the room's comfort by spending your own peace. If you recognize yourself in this, take a breath. This is not about blaming you. You are not weak for being this way. In fact, this hyper-awareness of other people's needs likely kept you safe in your past. Maybe you had to manage a parent's unpredictable moods. Maybe you learned early on that the only way to get affection was to be helpful and invisible. Your people-pleasing was a brilliantly adaptive survival strategy. It worked, but you are not in that environment anymore. You are an adult now, and the armor that once protected you is now crushing you. You are allowed to take it off. Taking it off does not mean you suddenly become cold, aggressive, or selfish. This is the biggest misconception we have about setting boundaries. We think saying no is an act of hostility. We think if we draw a line, we have to do it with a drawn sword. But a true boundary is not an attack. It is simply a statement of truth about what you can and cannot do. You do not need a 20-minute apology. You do not need to invent an elaborate lie about why you are busy. The most effective way to start saying no without feeling aggressive is to use a short, clear sentence, followed immediately by a realistic alternative. Let us go back to the friend moving out. If that call happened today, the response does not have to be a harsh rejection. It sounds like this: "I cannot come over for the whole night, but I can come by tomorrow morning for 2 hours to help load the truck." That is it. It is clean. It is honest. Or when the extra work project is offered. "I do not have the capacity to take that on this weekend, but I can look at it first thing on Tuesday." You are not rejecting the person, you are rejecting the timeline. You are offering what you genuinely have to give, without draining the reserves you need to survive. The first time you try this, it is going to feel terrible. I need to be completely honest with you about that. Your heart will race. Your palms will sweat. Your brain, wired for decades to avoid conflict at all costs, will scream at you that you have just ruined the relationship. You will want to immediately text them back and say, "Actually, never mind, I can do it." Do not send that text. Sit with the discomfort. The guilt you feel in that moment is not a signal that you have done something wrong. It is simply the friction of a new habit rubbing against an old wound. Let it burn. The guilt will fade, And what replaces it will be something you might not have felt in a very long time. Self-respect. When you start saying no to the things that drain you, a very quiet, very profound shift happens in your life. The people who were only keeping you around for what you could do for them will slowly drift away. Let them. They were not your friends. They were relying on your lack of boundaries. The relationships that remain will be the ones built on actual connection, not just transaction. You will stop feeling like a ghost haunting your own life. You do not have to be the hero in everyone else's story at the expense of your own. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be unavailable. You are allowed to let the silence hang in the room, and you are allowed to let someone else be the one to fill it. The next time someone asks you for something you do not have the energy to give, remember that you are not a bystander in your own life. You have a voice. Use it. It is entirely okay to simply say, "I cannot this time." The world will not end. The sky will not fall. And for the first time, you might actually get to rest.